Hello, Travis with Hagie here. Today we're going to talk about Ag Leader's InCommand display. To start off with, you'll see the home screen. It includes a number of apps or different settings that I can get into. To start off with, we'll go into the Setup page. Setup is where I can set up different configurations within the display. So if I wanted a configuration for spraying, a configuration for running my nitrogen toolbar, or Y drops, I could set up separate configurations for each one of those things. In addition, here at the top, I have a tab that says Product, where I can set up different products as far as what I'm applying, what I want my reports to reflect. If I go back to that configuration tab, you'll notice in the center I have a couple of icons. The green plus, I can add a new configuration. The keyboard lets me change a configuration name or one that's already created. The wrench lets me make settings changes to that configuration, and the red minus will delete a configuration. Across the bottom, I have a couple of different tabs. This one is configuration setup. If I tap on the next one, the barn and silo, this is my management setup. So these are my grower farms and fields for application reports and file management. Next tab at the bottom here is GPS guidance setup. Right now I'm set up on manual guidance. I do not have an auto steering system installed on this machine. And then I have my GPS receiver settings here as well. I could get into those. We won't get into those in this video. Last tab down at the bottom is my console setup. So these have everything to do with my display, settings, brightness, date time, things like that. One thing to note here, features. Ag Leader does offer a number of different feature unlocks, automatic swath control, multiple product, NORAC UC5, as well as ISOBUS and DisplayCast are the common ones. Also have a tab here for Agfinity. Agfinity is Ag Leader's file transfer protocol, as well as allows for remote viewing of displays with associated unlocks. And then just my advanced features here if I wanted to clear internal memory, wipe this display. I'll hit my back arrow here in the top left corner. It brings me back to that home screen. To start off here, I'm going to hit on the application button in the kind of the center of the bottom row here. Application will bring me into my configuration selection. In this case, I have my vehicle set up here. I can see I've got a green check mark next to that. That means that this configuration is good to go. This system is seeing all of the modules that it's looking for. You can see if I tap on that, I've got a couple other configurations set up here that the modules are not present for in the system. So as long as I've got a green check mark next to my configuration name, I should be good to go. My system sees all the modules it needs to, and I can proceed from there. So I'll hit that blue arrow to the right down at the bottom. Brings me to my management selection, so I can pick my crop growing season, my grower, farm, and my field. I'm just going to leave mine the way they are, so I'll hit that blue arrow to the right. Next screen here is product selections. This is the product I'm going to be applying in this field. I can pick by tapping on that drop-down list of any of the products that I have already set up, or if I wanted to create a new product, I'd simply hit on the green plus next to it. For this example, I'm just going to apply some 32%, and we'll move on from here with that blue arrow to the right. Event selection, because I picked a grower farm and field that I've already used, these would be all of the events that I've done within that field. In this case, I'm just going to continue this event. I already have a boundary set up, so I want to continue to use this event. Hit my blue arrow there. It's going to give me, just make sure that I've got my right controlling product, everything's good here, and then I'll hit my green check mark. Now I have this display to set up to automatically create reports, so when I start a field, it's going to ask me to input field nodes. If I want to include anything for sky condition, wind direction, wind speed, temperature, humidity, as well as soil conditions or crop timing, that'll all be recorded and then will output into my report when I am finished. Can also do equipment as well as product setup, so I can set what pest I'm trying to target here, as well as any other memos or notes that I'd like to take in the field. I'm just going to hit my green check mark here. It's going to bring me to my run screen. This is the run screen on the InCommand. You'll notice we've got a couple of tabs here at the top, as well as the left and right. We'll start here on the left-hand side. these 4 tabs here. First, the multicolored boxes. By tapping on that, it's going to slide this box out into my screen. What this is this is my legend as far as rate goes, so this is what my display is going to be painting based on these rates. The legend is normally set to adjust automatically, so you'll notice after you start taking off in the field, I have my rate set to 10 gallons an acre here. Obviously a rate of 205 plus is not going to be painted, but the legend will automatically adjust as I proceed through the field to better represent the range that I'm applying in that field. Next tab down here, I have some markers. I can add indicators, whether it's a rock or a waterway or a ditch, just a GPS marker on the map so that'll show up next time I open this grower farm and field. Next tab here is my boundary headlands and topography tab. This is where I'd go to create any boundaries. Like I said, I already have a boundary created in this field, so if I tap on boundary, it's going to show that boundary here. I can hit that blue or that green plus in the lower left-hand corner to create an additional boundary or clear all boundaries. Last tab at the bottom here is guidance. So this is where I go to set my guidance line, whether it be an AB line, adaptive curve, an identical curve, or a smart path. This is where I'd set those A and B points to set up those lines. I don't have any GPS, nor do I have a steering controller hooked into the system, so it's not going to let me set a AB line here, but I would just tap on new pattern there. It would pop up, say, how wide do you want me to be? What guidance line type would you like? And then it will go ahead and we can create that guidance line. Tapping on that same box again will slide that back over to the side so I get a little bit more room on my run screen. We're going to switch over here to the right-hand side. You can see my target rate as well as my actual applied rate right underneath it and my product name. By tapping on that, I will slide out my box where I can select from rate 1 or rate 2, or put the system in manual through the InCommand display. So tapping on this M will put that system into manual. I can then use these up and down arrows on the right-hand side to increase or decrease my pump. You'll also notice I have an RX. That's where I would go to load a prescription map. And then right next to it, I have a small single-ended wrench. Tapping on that brings me into my rate control settings. This is where I can physically type in and set rate 1, rate 2, as well as my rate increment. So select rate, in this case I can select rate 2, type in 15 gallons an acre, and then I can have an increment of 1, 5, whatever I'd like to do there. Also, on the other tab here, I can fill or set my tank level. So if I've gone through the field, emptied my tank, here's where I can come to refill that tank. Again, tapping on that rate or target rate box will change to my target rate, and then tapping on that target rate will have that box kind of slide back into the side there. Across the bottom, you'll see, because this is running Ag Leader's ISO direct command system, I have a pressure gauge in the lower left-hand corner. It will also tell me my droplet size, where it has a little drop in the question mark there. As I increase pressure, it will show different droplet sizes there, displaying what droplet size is coming out of my nozzle, assuming I have set up that information within the display. You can also see in the lower left here, I'm running an ISO 04 nozzle for this application. I do have to tell this system what nozzle I'm running, as it does have the option of running pressure-based rate control. So to run pressure-based rate control, I have to tell it what size nozzle, as well as my product density. On the right-hand side, I've got options for settings, agitation, auxiliary, and pump speed. On a Hagie machine, none of these things are tied into sensors, so none of these will display. Your agitation pressure will be displayed on your machine control display. We don't have an auxiliary pressure, and then pump speed, there is no pump speed sensor tied into our solution pump, so all those values will remain 0. If I tap on this single-ended wrench here right next to settings, it'll take me into some liquid control options like I mentioned. With this system running, or being capable of running pressure-based rate control, I do have to supply this with my product density. In this case, for 32%, it's auto-filled that as 11.06 pounds per gallon. I also get a calculator, so if I am running a product mix that I'm not sure what the density is, I can punch in a weight and a volume here, and it will dispense that information. I also have nozzle selection, so this is where I can pick what nozzle size I'm running. ISO 04, 03s, 02s, whatever it might be, I can select that here. I do have to set up each one of those nozzles. We'll get into that a little bit more when we do the video on the ISO direct command system itself. One thing to note down here in the very bottom right hand corner, I've got a couple of lines, some vertical, some kind of going at a diagonal. This is where I can turn auto swath on or off. Auto swath is Ag Leader's swath control or section control system. Tapping on that will make them green. Tapping again will make them gray or turned off. Now we're going to go through the tabs down on the lower left hand side. So you can see right now I'm on the one that kind of looks like a triangle. This is my 3D guidance view. If I tap on that icon again, it'll zoom out and give me an entire field view. You can kind of see my boundary here. It's actually made around the Hagie manufacturing facility in Clarion where we produce the machines. Tapping on it again will bring me back to that 3D guidance view. Other options I have right next to that, I have a split screen view, so I can see that 3D guidance view as well as a full field view or zoomed out view of my field at the same time. Next one here is UT. UT is my universal terminal. Like I said before, I'm running a ISO direct command system, so this is where I see that ISO direct command system. Also in this case, I have NORAC UC5 here, another tab at the top where I can see my NORAC system. Tap on UT again, or on split screen again, and it brings me back to my zoomed in, zoomed out view of the field. Also I have a camera icon. Last one is all the way on the left hand side on the bottom here. I have a piece of paper. This brings me to my summary report. Shows me what products I'm supplying, how many gallons per acre, how many gallons I've applied, and how many acres I've applied well in this event. Also gives me nutrients and productivity, so I can see my average speed, operating time, area complete, things like that. To exit a job, in the InCommand display, we've got 3 lines up on the very top left corner. If I tap on those 3 lines, I get a drop-down menu. I can go home. Home is that blue screen with a blue background with all of my apps on it. Field will bring me actually back into my grower farm and field setup page. Product, region, event, all of those. If I was going to be switching fields but I wasn't switching products, or I was switching products but wasn't switching fields, I can kind of jump through there, as well as settings. This is where I can get into specific settings for the configuration, as well as my steering system again. So if I tap on those 3 lines and hit the home button, I get back to that main screen. Thanks for watching today's video. We hope you learned something. If there's any other topics you'd like covered, please leave a comment.